We don't need this one back in this because we don't have a reader, right? Do you need this one for the choir, Scott?
There's no choir.
Oh, it's just okay. Okay. So I can take this one off now and put it in my chair. Okay. Keep talking, keep talking, keep talking, keep.
Okay, welcome to First Parish, Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Dina Hastings. First Parish is located in the heart of downtown Portland, Maine. Woo-hoo! Today we are together in the meeting house for the very first time since this pandemic began. All right?
So whoa. I'm loud. We can take care of that. That better, that's good.
Loud is better than...
Yeah, but I don't want to,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like we don't want to shock them after you speak.
Right, okay.
Okay. So it sounds like we're both about equal now. Okay.
Okay, good.
No, I'm going to use the one at the pulpit. I'm going to use this one when we're doing the story. I'm going to put it in the chair right now. I'll speak into this one, and I will put it in this chair right now.
Right, okay. Mm-hmm.
Good morning, everybody. If you're joining us online, welcome, welcome. You are going to see the last few minutes of our getting ready for the service where we're having people in person today. Remember to sign up on the Sign Up Genius so you too can be in the meeting house with us on Sunday or Christmas Eve or solstice evening. Scott will start playing some music in just a little bit. Meanwhile, you can watch us get ready. When we go down for the story, because then we're going to say, should we, okay? And I can say a little bit myself. Okay. I'm going to keep mine on while I'm wandering.
So we're keeping them until
No.
we sing or whatever,
Yeah.
talk. Hey there, how are you?
Good morning. One of the courageous new people that is we're going to invite them. We're giving hazard pay, Oreo cookies to anyone who comes today. Yes. That's a long time ago. Do we have little candles I can use to light the menorah? This is a little big to light that. All right.
think Mo was looking for the, there's not.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is so wonderful to see bodies in the pews. I can't even tell you. It makes me want to cry. Welcome to everyone who's joining us virtually online. Know that with the live streaming, you won't be able to have a breakout room or conversations in the chat. We will be trying to figure that out because there is a way, I think, that we can allow you to give comments and things. So stay tuned. This is a process for us learning how to do this. Also, we've measured the distance so Dina and I can take off our masks while we're here because it's well over 20 feet to the first person. And that also makes it safe for Scott to sing. When we come down, we'll put the masks on. Sit in pews with bows. We've distanced those, so if there's a pew with a bow in it that has not another person, we're saying 1 pod per pew with ribbons. And if you don't see one that doesn't have, just go skip one and go back, and we'll make sure we put enough ribbons on next week. So just keep going back, skip a pew from the last person, and then you can sit there. There you go, perfect. And if you see me do this, all up here, it means one of your masks is slipping down. So Dina and I are the mask police. This is the cue. Okay, Dina, you want to practice?
Everybody got that? It's like a secret handshake. I think we heard the bell ring, right?
Yeah, the bell did ring. Did you hear it in person?
Real live in person.
Yeah.
So welcome everyone. Wow, this is just a wonderful. It does make me want to kind of cry too after being away so long. Welcome to First Parish Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Dina Hastings and I'm a member of the worship committee. After 18 months away from our beloved meeting house, we've returned, meeting in person, but under some very stringent measures: masks, social distancing, good airflow, practices never under consideration before 2020 are now de rigueur. But let me ask you a few questions. Has this crazy pandemic world changed your relationship with First Parish? Have you become socially distanced from our beloved community? Have you allowed your mask to stifle your voice? Does it feel like good airflow takes away the warmth of gathering together? Today, I invite you to open your hearts to the possibility of a new relationship with First Parish as we honor the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. As Gwen Matthews writes in her essay, "You Are the Holiday Miracle." Hanukkah, the festival of lights, commemorates a time of miracles, when the faith of the Jewish people sustained them to reclaim their holy temple and keep the light of the menorah burning for 8 days. Here in our church, you are just as much of a holiday miracle as the turning of the earth, as persistence and dedication to a faith, as the creation of each new life. We see the love you give to others, the space you create to hold one another's joys and sorrows, and the generosity and spirit you entrust to this community. You are the holiday miracle. This community is one of miracle makers. Before we enjoy our prelude, let us remember that, like the Jews that were constantly forced from their homelands, indigenous people throughout North America and the world were forced off their lands by greed and power. In fact, the land you're standing on right now was stolen from Wabanaki tribes. Let us take a moment to honor that suffering. Now, please enjoy our prelude, Eli, Eli, written by Hannah Senich, who went to Israel from Hungary at age 18. In 1943, at the height of World War II, and at 22 years of age, she volunteered to go into Nazi-controlled areas in Europe to save Jewish lives. In 1944, she parachuted into what was then Yugoslavia, and after staying with the partisans, she went to Hungary, where she was discovered and executed by the Germans. She is known both for her heroism and her poetry.
And so, we return. In a partial, less than perfect way, we begin our holiday season together. The way has been prepared before us. This room, blessed by story and song, this place, this hour, this season, is hallowed not only by our presence with one another, but all the stories, the songs, the presence of hundreds of years who gathered in this place, in this season, congregants, mourners, ministers, singers, celebrants. If you listen in this space, you can hear their voices. You can hear their stories, their songs, their memories, their traditions. This space is filled with them. So together, we return to this place where, for generations, people have sought connections, inspiration, perhaps a larger vision of what is possible, a larger hope for the world, clarity of purpose. I would guess for you that are sitting in the pews, this also may be a stark awareness that I am not Christina, because your association with this pulpit for so many years was her presence. And I'm aware that there are people who long for, mourn for her presence. And in the virtual reality of my arrival, you've not really experienced that closure. So for some, today, with me in this space, is probably a little deeper awareness of that honesty and that closure. So I want to honor that this morning. I am not Christina, but I will serve you, and I will share my skills, my talents, my ministry with you in a way that I hope is meaningful for all of you. So we return. We return to be awakened, enlightened, and renewed. We arrive to be changed, transformed, to move forward together. May this place, may this hour begin to welcome more people through the doors, to slowly fill the pews as we learn to be safe, inclusive, and together. May it be so.
Now, as Reverend Elaine lights the chalice, I'd like to read this wonderful poem by The Nights of Midwinter by Dawn Fortune. We light this chalice as a symbol of our free faith. We light this chalice to remember the miracle of the oil that burned for 8 days. We light this chalice to mark the nights of midwinter. We light this chalice as we wait for the sun to return. Please join me in reciting our covenant, which can be found in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine.
So Tobin is in Brunswick this morning. We are sharing him with that congregation. So he'll be here some weeks, and I will be telling a story, or the worship weaver will be telling a story. So it's kind of hard to talk with masks. I am fully vaccinated, about to be boosted. How about you? Can we take off our masks?
Yes, let's
I
do
think
it.
we're still 20 feet.
Yes,
Okay.
about to be boosted as well.
Yes.
Wow, here we are together in this exciting moment. Lots of complications, but back into the meeting house and welcoming people by live stream at the same time.
It is a learning, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, to be a church for all bodies during a waxing and waning global pandemic. I am glad we are going to honor the Hebrew nation today and their winter holiday, Hanukkah, and what this holiday means to the Jewish people.
So is this why we have what we thought was a menorah?
Yeah, it's not exactly a menorah. So I did not check the menorah before today, and this is such a really important thing for us to acknowledge, because a real menorah has 9 candles. This one has 7, okay? So this is a candelabra, not a menorah. But we're going to use it today, and we're going to light it. We'll be minus 1 candle, because today is the last day of Hanukkah. It started on November 28th. And what we wanted to share with children is one of the most important principles of our congregation, of Unitarian Universalism, is to learn about all the other traditions. So we are acknowledging that this is not a menorah.
But we are having a service about Hanukkah.
Absolutely. And we're doing, just like we're doing with our land acknowledgement, we're acknowledging our error in the past. Maybe somebody bought this thinking it was a menorah because they didn't understand what a menorah was, you know? So that helps our children not feel awkward. Mm-hmm. When they make a mistake or when they're learning, it helps all of us be able to acknowledge that. And isn't that the most important thing we can teach our children?
Absolutely. But having a service in a UU congregation about a Jewish holiday, what is that really about?
That really is about us honoring one of our principles says that we honor all faith traditions and we learn from all of the great religions. So we are learning. It also means we have to be careful not to misappropriate, that we learn, we honor, we make a place for all people, and we want them to feel welcome, and we want anyone who walks through the door to feel like we respect and know what their tradition is, and we're not trying to take it over and make it ours.
So kids get the take, no matter what religion they may be growing up with or what they may experience as a youngster, that everything is okay if you walk in these doors, that no matter what you believe is
Yeah,
accepted.
yeah, and that hopefully they will recognize something that says, you belong here. So somebody Jewish is going to come in today and say, they tried.
And we did try.
And we did try. And we're going to do better. And that's the learning, isn't it? We try, we make mistakes, we do better. And that's what I want our kids to learn as well.
Yes, it's a great takeaway. And since there's so many different people in the world and so many different religions, it's a great way for kids to understand other people's worldviews and how they experience the world.
And hopefully we help our children be comfortable with difference, that they don't see difference as less than, that they see themselves, they get to experience difference and feel the joy in that, not the judgments. And yeah, and how everyone can be part of our grand, grand global community. Shalom. And we're going to light these 7 candles, even though it's not a menorah. In honor of our capacity to be honest, this would be the shaman, if there were 9, and then shaman. I thought it was shaman. See, I'm still learning. And there would be 4 candles on either side for the 8 nights of the miracle. There you go. Together with our chalice, we have 8. Maybe. In honor of our Jewish siblings and neighbors, Happy Hanukkah.
Good morning. Good morning. So our first hymn is a traditional Hanukkah song, probably the most of the traditional music, the most well-known Hanukkah song, Rock of Ages, which is actually in our hymnal. So the words from our hymnal are printed for you. But I thought I would do it a little bit different. I'm going to sing the first verse for you, and then I'm going to sing it in Hebrew, so you could hear the Hebrew text.
And you can hum in a mask. You can't sing, but with your lips pursed, you can hum along. So if you know the tune, hum. Everyone at home, you can sing your lungs out.
Rock of Ages, let our song praise your saving power. You amid the raging foe were our sheltering tower. Furious it assailed us, but your arm availed us, and your word broke its sword when our own strength failed shabeach, tikun betefilati, v'sham toda nezabeach, letachin matbeach, mitzar hamnabeach, azegmor, bashir mizmor, Hanukkah hamizbeach.
Thank you, Scott. That was the first time I've heard you sing. That was wonderful. And humming is different, but it's still better than silence. I'd like to join you all in a moment of reflection and meditation. I'm going to use some words that were written by Melissa Carville-Zimmer, who is the executive director of our UU Ministers Association. And I want us to begin today in this service reflecting on loss, because we've lost so much during the pandemic, and we're beginning to gain it back by being together. So, in this season, it's important to acknowledge loss as well as joy, because so many people during this time of year feel loss more than they feel joy. So I want us to be aware of that in our own celebrations of the holidays. The 8 candles, or 7 candles in chalice, symbolize the enduring values of the Hebrew community. And it invites us to allow the candles to open us to the doors of this holiday season. The many traditions, the beauty, the joy, and the loss. So this is what Melissa wrote and sent to all the UU ministers. O love, that will never let us go, witness with us the vast catalogs of our losses. The people, millions of people, some known to us intimately, some casually, others strangers. Every single one of them was beloved. We grieve the death of so many precious lives. The being human together in embodied relationship, the hugs, the handshakes, the shared laughter and tears, the stories that people told on the edges of gatherings, the playing and working and dreaming, eating, singing, drinking together. The way we can feel one another when we are in the same place, the things that are gone when you're on Zoom, and for the essential differences being at ease together in person makes. It is impossible to fully state the impact of all these losses. The practice of ministry has been forever changed. We've juggled and pivoted and adapted so many times. We are tired and weary, and for many ministers, the rewards of the work and the hint are harder to grasp. We grieve that our healthcare systems are overburdened and understaffed. Are you receiving the testimony of chaplains? Are you listening? It is too much. We are only human. We grieve the loss of patience in ourselves and in others, and the loss of resilience for dealing with the ordinary frustrations and life in community. We grieve the loss of beloveds who have drifted away from our communities, children, families, and individuals disengaged by the physical distance, even though we work so hard to help people feel and stay connected. It is hard to lead when we don't know where we are going. Harder still when we can't get a good sense of the whole. Some of us have had to let go, and some have been let go. Little losses adding up and growing older, growing bigger over time, sort of like a snowball rolling down a hill. We are thinking of picture books showing a runaway snowball that can't be controlled. For some of us, members, congregants, professional musicians, worship weavers, it has been like that. Hold the ones among us who have felt no choice but to release their positions, their engagement, their memberships, their jobs. Stay close. Stay close to one another as best you can. Stay close. Don't let anyone be lonely during this time. So we ask, come to us, O great love. Remind us of what is possible, of what we are waiting for in this season of holiness. Help us to come to each other in the midst of so much loss, to remember what coming together means and what it offers us in possibility. So may it be. Amen. And blessed be. And welcome. Hanukkah. I wanted to tell you about Hanukkah because while we light the menorah and celebrate the miracle of the oil, the holiday is so much more than that. And it's actually in the other meanings that sort of get lost because Hanukkah can kind of be dumped into Christmas and Kwanzaa and Diwali and all the solstice, all the other holidays that happen at this time. And actually, it sort of perpetuates the injustice that Hanukkah was created to confront. So, in the Jewish calendar, November 28th this year was the 25th day of Kislev. And it is in the 9th month of the 12 months of the Jewish calendar. See if I can put this down. There. Is that good? Thumbs up? Okay. So, Kislev, which is the name of this Jewish month, comes from the word security and trust. And those are two words that are sort of foundational to Hanukkah and the month that Hanukkah is celebrated in. There's two qualities of trust that are represented by Hanukkah. The first is a very active trust. The Hanukkah is exemplified of the Maccabees, that they had the strength and the courage to stand up against assimilation and the oppression that was confronting them in the Hellenistic Empire. And it's also passive trust. The passive trust is more the faith of the Jewish people that in the face of adversity, whether it was a Holocaust or assimilation in the Hellenistic world, they have trusted their God, their Hebrew God, Yahweh, to see them through. And that faith that was inside, was their passive trust that all would be well. So Hanukkah dates back to the years when the Jewish were struggling against cultural assimilation it was about 160 BCE, and it was the era where the Greek culture, with its emphasis on individualism, its political power, civic culture, and ideas, dominated the whole area of Palestine. And Hellenism was kind of sexy and glitzy, and just like a lot of cultural things right now that attract us to sort of pull away from maybe tradition, they were seduced by this wealthier class of people and the ruling class throughout the Middle East. So many Jews wanted to be part of that glitter, that richness, that prestige. And Antiochus Epiphanes was the Syrian king who was asserting his power over the Jews that were around Jerusalem. And he decided to really push that assimilation. There was a sort of empire priority to make everybody the same, one religion, one understanding of what it meant to be part of the empire, and everybody would be part of that Hellenistic culture. So he took pretty extreme measures to try to assimilate the Jews. He forced them to make sacrifices, even pigs, on the altar of the temple. He enforced the intentions of Alexander, who had this great dream of having a united empire. And he forced them into wearing more traditional clothes and doing all the things that were Greek, not Jewish. So it was 168 BCE when Epiphanes proclaimed that Judaism, along with all the other non-conforming cultural practices, must be purified. And they were going to create a citizen religion of the great empire. On penalty of death, all Jews were required to follow an imposed on them purification of Judaism. And this included the monthly sacrifices to the gods. Sacred prostitution was set up in the temple. A statue of Zeus was erected beside the temple, and his name was associated with the temple. Pagan rituals and sacrifices were instituted not only in the Jewish high holy temple, but in all of the shrines in Jerusalem. Now, many Jews were motivated by their own desire to be in that upper class, to be part of the in crowd, and the power of the Hellenistic culture really seduced them. Other Jews who were deeply committed to the Torah were filled with fury at the oppressive decrees and revulsed by what was happening in their temple. They were also really upset by the cooperation of some of their Jewish siblings. Mattathias was a priest, and he was deeply committed to the Torah. He stabbed a Jew who he found making sacrifices to the new cult in the temple. He also killed the king's agent and pulled down a sacrificial altar, starting what we know as the Maccabean Wars. It was a revolt, an anti-colonial revolt against Antiochus, Epiphanes, and it began a civil war in the Jewish community because you had these ones that were assimilating into the Hellenistic culture and those who were deeply committed to their Jewish story. Mattathias had 5 sons, and they were known as the Maccabees. They gathered a small band of followers. They could not confront the whole Syrian army in a conventional way, so they used sort of guerrilla warfare, hiding behind trees, sneak attacks in the hills and forest against the army of Antiochus and his collaborators within the Jewish community. Mattathias died before they had restored the temple or before they'd won their revolt. But Judah Maccabee, one of his sons, his eldest son, continued to lead the revolt. He was supported by the masses that were resisting assimilation. And as the power of this tiny band was starting to be experienced, more Jews felt called back to their roots. They had hope. They felt that perhaps they could restore the temple. So even those who had been drifting towards Hellenism were seeing their brothers and sisters and siblings defending the home soil, seeing the destruction of local Jewish populations. So the band of revolutionaries grew. They were able to recapture Jerusalem. And with that, Judah set out to rededicate the Holy Temple. It needed to be cleansed of all that sacrifice that was inappropriate. He also needed to rekindle the sacred eternal flame that always burned in the temple. Sacred oil took a long time for the rabbis to prepare. It actually took 8 days to create that fuel. Now, this is where the miracle comes in. According to the miracle story, enough oil for 1 day was found. So the lamp was rekindled with the oil for 1 day, and miraculously that oil burned for 8 days while the priests were able and rabbis were able to create the sacred oil. That story of the miracle of the oil is found nowhere in the Hebrew Bible. So there's nothing in the Torah about that. First and Second Maccabees in the Hebrew Bible gives detailed accounting of the decisions that Judah made, the different Jewish traditions he tried to unite, the laws of the Torah that were being broken by the attempt to assimilate into Hellenistic culture. Most of all, the Hebrew scripture emphasizes the communal joy and acts of celebration when Judah actually cleansed and rededicated the temple on its holy site. How many of you know what Midrash is? Midrash is what the priests talk about over the generations. The rabbis tell each other. So there's a book called the Talmud, which is all Midrash. So the Torah are the sacred scrolls that you'll find in any synagogue or temple. And the Midrash is in the Talmud. So it's if you ever get to see it, it's beautiful. It's like everybody writing in the margins, and one rabbi arguing with another rabbi, and that is the only place that Hanukkah is mentioned. The story of the miracle of the oil is found only in the Talmud, in those little collections of generations of writing. So what it says, one rabbi writes, "What is Hanukkah?" And the eldest rabbi answers him with the tale of the oil. And that is how the holiday was born. And the holiday was born for just exactly the same reason that the war was fought. It was in Victorian England, where Jews were being forced to celebrate Christmas. If they wanted to be part of the upper class, if they wanted to be seen as affluent and educated, they had to dress and decorate Christmas. So that is when Hanukkah truly became celebrated. It was in the beginning of the 19th century in Eastern Europe. Christmas had become so dominant and the major piece, just like Hellenism, back before the Common Era. It was another time for Jews to resist assimilation, to have their own tradition, to not be like Christians, both because of their resistance and for their joy in their own tradition. Hanukkah was reborn with a much stronger emphasis on the Maccabees, also on gift giving, because that was the Christmas tradition and the Christian tradition. So there was this new holiday that was emphasized. Its very existence today continues to proclaim the strength and the integrity of the people to remain culturally distinct, to resist that temptation to let go of yourself to fit in. Think of the indigenous people that we honor in our land acknowledgement. Think of our brown and black neighbors and friends. How much power is in that push to assimilate, to be like the dominant culture? That's what the whole conversation the board is trying to stimulate around the eighth principle is about. How do we hold on to our own cultures, our own values, and make room for the other so that we aren't forcing everyone? Like Henry Ford, do you guys know the story of the melting pot? That anyone who worked for Ford had to completely, they actually had a pot that was about as big as this meeting house. It was a big pot. People, black and brown people, Asian people, indigenous people, had their traditional clothes on, then walked up the stairs, got into the melting pot where they changed them into white Western clothes, and they came out the other side of the melting pot as true Americans. Henry Ford's guards used to go into people's homes to see if they were eating hot dogs and white sugar, to make sure they were eating American food. And if they were found to be eating their traditional food, they were fired. So at the fear of losing their jobs. They left their language, their clothes, their stories, their people behind. How many of you have relatives, Italian, Polish, Czechoslovakian, Irish, that went through that melting pot? So even when you're white, but even more so if your skin color leaves you distinct, white people could assimilate much more easily. Our neighbors who had a different color to their skin, or curl to their hair, or the shape of their eyes, could not come out of that pot the same. So, Hanukkah reminds us of that power, celebrates the courage of every person, Jews especially, who resisted assimilation to hold on to their cultures and their traditions. By telling this story in the meeting house, we are telling the story of the Maccabees. By lighting these candles, we are inviting everyone to have the courage to be themselves. We are truly creating a church for all bodies, where we will not ask people to leave themselves outside the doors to join us here. That's the essence of our religion. And we've been practicing since 1961 how to do that authentically, honestly, courageously, and correctly. We have made errors, but the eighth principle is leading us to a new way to do this, so that we are not forcing people to be like the dominant culture of whiteness. So, today, with the honoring of the last day of Hanukkah, let your life represent you. What you believe, what matters to you, what traditions your family has held on to and perhaps was forced to let go of. Resist complacency. Be courageous, trust, and build a community that emphasizes that honesty and that invitation. Be who you are. You are welcome here. May we see a moment before us in which all people are free. Tyrants disappear. The expectation that there is one way to be correct, one way to be smart, one way to be beautiful, one way to be successful can be eliminated, and we can truly honor the dignity and the worth of every human being. May it be so.
So I just counted. It's been 21 months since I've been able to ask this question of the congregation. I'm so excited. Do we have any baby boomers here? I see a lot of them. So in this next hymn, the first hymn we did a 13th century, very traditional song. This is actually in our hymnal as well. Light One Candle by Peter, Paul, and Mary. So we've moved from 13th century to the 1960s. And it's interesting, I'm gonna do just 2 verses of it.
Put your masks on and hum.
The first and the second verse have so much relevance in our lives today. Think about that. Light one candle for the Maccabee children, with thanks that their light didn't die. Light one candle for the pain they endured when the right to exist was denied. Light one one candle for the terrible sacrifice justice and freedom demand. But light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peacemaker's time is at hand. Don't let the light go out. It lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. Light one candle for the strength that we need to never become our own foe. Light one candle for those who are suffering the pain we learned so long ago. Light one candle for all we believe in, that anger won't tear us apart. And light one candle to bring us together, the peace as the song in our heart. Don't let the light go out. It lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our fears. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears.
That was wonderful.
Thank you, Scott. I love that song, particularly the chorus. Don't let the light go out. It's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out. Let it shine through our love and our tears. Today, each of us are called upon to help keep the light of First Parish shining brightly. The pandemic has taken lives, businesses, small and large, possibly friends and family members, but we cannot let it take away this incredible community of people. Please consider making an offering to First Parish now. If each of us lights one candle, the strength of this wonderful community is assured. The ushers will now gratefully accept your donations, and instructions for those that are live streaming can be found in your order of service. Please enjoy our offertory music, Vino Malkenu, played by our very own Scott Wheatley.
May the rest of our holiday season be inspired by the courage and the faith of our Jewish siblings and neighbors and friends. May we each ask ourselves and each other to have the strength of our convictions, of our faith, to proclaim our values, our purposes and principles in a way that we truly, truly expand our awareness of being a church for everybody, so that we can come to fully treasure every person we meet as precious, unique, deserving of freedom and respect, to love and be loved, to have meaningful work, a safe shelter, a living wage, to have access to all the opportunities of our society, education, healthcare, all the resources necessary for a healthy and meaningful life. That is the meaning of the holiday season.
Please join me in our unison benediction as Reverend Elaine extinguishes the chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I'm going to blow this way. We have a few announcements. I have them written down. And one of the announcements is that we recognize that Victoria's memorial service, that we aren't going to serve coffee or refreshments where you'd have to take your mask down, but you're welcome to talk to each other, keep a little distance, be safe. But we know that there's a real wonderful opportunity here to just reconnect. So we want you to enjoy that in this space, just, not like everybody in one huddle in the middle aisle, okay? I also want to encourage you joining the Wabanaki Alliance and other First Parish members on Thursday, December 16th at 7 p.m. It's online, and you can find the details on our website. It's to express support for LD 1626, to learn how you can support the Wabanaki tribe, and it's a bill to protect Wabanaki rights by restoring self-governance and sovereignty to the tribes in Maine. So this is a great opportunity to learn more about what that Wabanaki Alliance is doing and to support your fellow parishioners and the community. With a letter to your legislator, they'll be writing the letters. You'll be at your home. It'll be virtual, but they'll tell you what to write in the letters, and then you can send your letters in to support. There's also a link on the website for Eventbrite where you can sign up for the event online. Also where you can sign up to attend worship, because we want people to continue signing up. What we're letting people know is that, like today, there's not 30 people here. So if you haven't had the opportunity to sign up and want to come to worship, come to the door. We're not going to deny you access. We can put people safely in other rooms should there be 33 people that come instead of 30. And we're also making space for choir and other weeds. So please sign up to attend worship. Sign up for your entire pod for solstice or Christmas Eve. So you have 4 people coming to sit in your pew, or 8. You sign up that many people. And we are giving priority to members first, but we are very inclusive of family members and friends who are not members, so that you can have your holiday pod with you. I also wanted you to know that the writing of today's sermon inspired me to get a little bit more active, so I am actually joining the Poor People's March and the Moral Monday next Monday. So I'll be leaving right after church next Sunday to go to Washington, D.C. I'm going to be the delegate from Maine, which means that I'm volunteering and prepared to do civil disobedience and be arrested. So if your minister's name is in the paper as having gone to jail, that's what happened. It's nothing bad, but I am going to stand up for economic justice, for a woman's right to make a choice with her body, and also for legislation that's going to support voting rights. So those are the three main priorities. You can also join. There's a bus leaving from Portland on Sunday. If you would like to join me in going to Washington, there's more information on Moral Monday and the Poor People's Campaign on the website that you can join and sign up to go. So I invite you to join in body or in mind that initiative next Monday. Do you have any more?
I do have one announcement this morning. Today at 11:30, there will be a newcomers coffee hour. Newcomers and visitors of First Parish are invited to chat informally with Reverend Elaine and membership.
In person.
In person with Reverend Elaine and membership coordinator Lori Hasty. So if you're new or want to learn more, please join us at 11:30 in the Parish Hall.
And we will continue to explore the virtual options with our live streaming. The technology changes a little bit, and we're learning more about how we can include the people who are live streaming in more of the conversation and the activities of in-person. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all. It's wonderful to be together for the first time. Happy Hanukkah.
So, 13th century, 1960s, and now I totally wish that the room was filled with children, because this song, even though I grew up in a very Midwest Christian background, this song brings out the kid in me, and I wish this was part of my tradition. So this is, I have a little dreidel. I think it's fun. I have a little dreidel, I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, then dreidel I shall play. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay. Oh, dreidel, 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 then dreidel I shall play. It has a lovely body with legs so short and thin. Then when it gets all tired, it drops and then I win. Oh, dreidel, 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 the legs so short and thin. Oh, dreidel, 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 it drops and then I win. A dreidel's always playful, it loves to dance and spin. A happy game of dreidel, come play now, let's begin. Oh, dreidel, 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 it loves to dance and spin. Oh, dreidel, 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 come play now, let's begin. Oh, dreidel, 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 it loves to dance and spin. Oh, dreidel, 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 come play now, let's begin.
Now, I promised you all hazardous pay for coming into the sanctuary, so I'm going to go get the double stuffed Oreos, and I'm going to put them there, and I'll spread them out. You can't take your masks off and eat them, but you can take them home in your pocket. Okay, Oreos